I really learned so much about producing from Mike Ross because he knew to step back and let me get down with them. I remember he came back and I was like this on the board. I mean, it was just the weed was so strong. I was just like this, and he was like, and it's booming, boom. And I said, yeah, man, it sounds dope, don't it? And he was, and then I was like, I remember that pivotal moment only because I curtailed my amount of smoking because like there's certain things in that mix that I would have done differently. And I realized like I put the fear of God into myself, and we all did really, because all I wanted to do is get a song on K-Day. I mean, it was like, I would have been enough, you know, but to be charged with doing this album, and I just was like, we ain't having no album fillers. It's the thing about the 90s, like everybody, it's like it was symbiotic. We could feel each other. Like, you know, like I remember when Pete Rock and CL Smooth came out with All Sold Out, we planned a trip to a cabin in Arrowhead. We bought all these different CDs and stuff. That shit blew my wig back. My wig was hanging by a little thin piece of skin. Like, you know, and it was like, whoa, the whole shit was solid. And then, so I was like, the bar, it's like, I don't like albums that just have 2 or 3 cuts. And hip hop was still finding its way, but all the stuff that I listened to, like KRS, like Public Enemy, like, you know, it was like that shit was banging from beginning to end. I couldn't have it any other way. And so, yeah, we just got in the studio and we had the luxury of being at Hollywood Sound and recording at Paramount on Santa Monica Boulevard. And I'll never forget it, man. It was an incredible experience.
What kind of conversations did you guys have going into that album? What was the topics going to be like? What was the chemistry like? What kind of thought process was going into that album before you recorded it?
Oh man, we would do like how I used to do at SCU. I'd be like, all right, man, y'all let me. I'm very my process is I like to get in there with the record. I set the needle down, let it roll. It's like fishing. So I let it roll. I'm doing things. I'm grabbing different sounds. And I catch it, and it's like you reel it in. Like, okay. And so so that was like our process. And then we would just bounce around ideas like, okay, oh shit. I'm that type of nigga originally was oh shit. That's why it goes dun 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 dun. But we got in there just stoned, and we was like, it was a beautiful afternoon. We looking out this window, and we just started jumping and saying, who is the nigga in charge over here? Who is the nigga in charge? And I remember the engineer was like, yeah, okay. I said, we're going to record this. And we had one of these big old mics like the one I got back here. But it was like the old school U87s, like expensive super mics. You hang them down. And we start writing the rhymes, and we start kicking the verses. And it wasn't live like the way we were jumping. So I remember I clashed with the engineer because I said, man, take that mic off and let us hold it. But this mic is worth, it's the $20,000. Look, man. And I said, look, we got to do it like this. I have to capture the actual, my goal was, like the way I make records is I create a world and bring you in. And I wanted people to feel how we felt when we were jumping up and down. So he was like, but the levels. And I was like, look, man, can't you compress the levels as it goes in? Because normally you compress after. And I was like, nah, we're doing it like this. I mean, I fired a couple of engineers, man, because the studio is a laboratory. It's like, this shit, my rule is like Bruce Lee. My style is no style. My rule is let's test it. You know what I mean? And that's why that song you can hear like as if you're at a show or something. And I was able to capture that. And I was like, okay, one more, boom. So we just took it, one day at a time. It was like we're not just going to try to target. We're gonna do this kind of song or that kind of song. We're gonna get in here. I'm gonna give y'all a beat, and let's see what we get out of it. Sometimes it would be like that song. It was like, so when we did that song and it became I'm That Type of Nigga, we went on and did the rest of the album we did on the DL. For Better or For Worse, that was a special one for me because I've been told by a couple of my contemporaries that I introduced the Rhodes to hip hop. And I mean, that's a humbling thing. But I mean, I was listening to Tribe Called Quest when I was in my senior year at high school. And what people don't understand is Bonita Applebum is the Rhodes. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of, it's like we had this connection. So I had a Fender Rhodes, and I wrote the chords. But sampling a Rhodes the way it is, it doesn't have that sound of the old recordings, like the mono and the old 70s sound. So what I did is I got one of those little, remember those recorders that with the cassette? I put it in and I put it on the floor and I recorded. Because then I sampled the cassette. And then that had the sound. It had the noise, you know, the what do they call it? The analog. So it's interesting. They were on tour. I was my label. I was putting my thing together. I was working with the Wascals, and I remember the A&R from Delicious, Lamar Algie. He came back with, he was like, "Oh my God, all of New York rushed him. It was crazy." Like, he was like, "Man, Pete Rock." He came up to me and he said, "I know, what's that? They first of all, they're like, where's Jay Swift? Where's Jay Swift?" I wasn't there, but my music was. So Pete Rock told Lamar, he was like, "I know what that record is he sampled. I just can't remember. What is it?" And Lamar said, "Look, that's not a record. Jay Swift recorded himself, sampled himself, and looped it." You know what I'm saying? And I love Pete Rock. I've met him. He's always super cool. He let me open for him in Barcelona. He wanted to know how I was getting down. And I had just was completing Negro Knievel, my alter Negro. And so he let me get down. So it was surreal. Like our dreams were realized. Like the cats that I love and respect had the same love and respect for me, because when you're doing this, you're in a bubble. Like, my whole goal is, I'm a B-boy, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I love hip hop. Like some people, most people love hip hop. There's a lot of people that are in hip hop and they lose their way. And I'm terrified of that. This is because I'm like in love with what I do.